Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture number 52 of this NPTEL lecture series on charging infrastructure, and today we will continue our discussion on DC charging of CCS2 charger. So in the last class, if you recall, we have studied about the charging sequence which is being documented in detail in IEC 61851-23 standard and also been included in AIS 138 standard. Broadly, the charging sequence included the mating of the connector. After that, it's a initialization where the PLC modem gets actually logically connected, and then the high level communication is started. Then the system will do cable check, that means they will continuously monitor the insulation between the DC plus and DC minus line, and then after that there will be pre-charging which will be taking place in order to avoid the huge amount of inrush current which can be drawn from the DC VSC, considering the voltage differences between the output of the DCC converter and the battery pack. So they will limit the amount of current which can be drawn from the DC VSC, and that is what constitutes the pre-charging stage. And after that, whenever the voltage level is less than 20 voltage different, the actual charging will start taking place, and during that time it's the BMS of the vehicle which keeps on demanding the required magnitude of current and voltage, and the DC supply will respond to that change by ensuring that the output at the DC plus and DC minus will be at the requested current and the voltage level. And then after that, once the battery SOC reaches to its required level, the BMS of the EV will tell to the EVSC that now the battery does not needed to be charged, and that is when slowly the power down stage taking place, and then finally the charging will come to the state B1, and then finally it gets unlocked, and then it will be unmated. I mean, the charger plug can be unmated from the vehicle inlet connector. So this is the entire procedure we have discussed in detail in the previous lecture, and let us see the actual scenario which we can get during the DC charging using the CCS2 charging systems. So if you see, as we have discussed, we go from A state to B1 state, then to B2 state, and then to C or D state. I mean, again in that C2 state or D state. So this continues, and from here we go to back to B, I mean B2, then B1, and then finally B1 to A. A means the connector is actually unmated. So here if you look the different stages, so here we have state A where the voltage or positive voltage level of the CP pin is at 12 volt. Again, this voltage is between CP and PE, between CP and PE, protective earth. So you can see there you have a 12 volt which is coming over here. Again, this waveform we have obtained it while doing the charging of the actual EV using the charging discovery system provided by this Keysight. So if we look very carefully at the this state, it is state A where our voltage level, positive voltage level of the CP pin will be at 12 volt, and then after that, once the connector get mated, then the system will go from A state to B1 state, and in B1 state you will see the voltage level will be 8.78, or you can say roughly 9 volt, and then after going to B1 state, the EVSC will then change its S1 switch connection from the constant 12 volt to the PWM based 12 volts, and that is when PWM gets activated, and here it's the B2 stage has arrived. And then after that, all the PLC get logically connected, high level communication get started. The EVSC will go into the state C2 where seeing the positive voltage level on the CP versus PE pin to be nearly 6 volt. If you look very carefully, the moment you plugged in your charger plug into the vehicle inlet connector, you will see that PP pin resistance between PP and CC pin, if you look very carefully, as we have generally on the PP versus PE pin on the connector, we have 1500 ohm for the DC CCS2 charger, and again this resistance may vary from 1100 to 2460 ohm, and this particular resistance will be coming in parallel with 4700 ohm, and this will give a value nothing but 891.379 ohm to 1588.6 732 ohm. And this is what we have seen over here, it is 1.385 kilo ohm resistance which is showing over here. So we can say that this 1.385 kilo ohm is within this particular range, and that is when our voltage level will be, this will come, if you recall our proximity pilot connection, it is 1385 divided by 1385 plus 330 ohm which is coming, and this will be multiplied by 5 volt, and this will be roughly around 4.03 volt, which is, we can see over here, it is nothing but 4.06 to 2286 volt. Since we are taking it from the real CCS2 connector, the resistance range could be between 1100 to 2460 ohm, and that will give us the value nothing but equal to 1385, which is shown over here, and that is when the voltage of the PP versus PE, across the PP pin with respect to PE is nothing but 4.03 volt, which is shown over here. So first the PP pin, through the PP pin the vehicle will come to know that okay, it's a valid connector, and that's when it will immobilize itself, and parallelly in the CP pin the charging stage is going from A to B1 to B2 stage. Now let us see how duty cycle and frequency of the PWM over the CP line looks like. So as we see here, we have A state, and during the A state you can see it is 100%. 100% means in the EVSC side the S1 switch is still connected to fixed 12 volt, and that's when the duty ratio is 100%. And once it goes from the A state to B1 state to B2 stage, at that point you can see that at this point the CP duty ratio is 5%, and which is in the range of 3 to 7%, which indicates that we are now having the high level communication over the CP line using PLC based communication. So this is what is the indication of that. Similarly, if we see the frequency, it is at 1 kilohertz, or you can say 1000 hertz, and again the CP goes from 12 volt to 8.78 volt, and it goes finally to 6 volt, where it is C2 state, which is showing over here. And if you look very carefully, the frequency, it starts only after it reaches to the B1 stage. There is some small time period is there when the switch in the EVSC goes from constant 12 volt to the oscillator voltage. And at the same time, if you look very carefully, when the CP goes into the C2 state, it's only after that, if you look here, it has not started charging, while the charging starts at this point where our charging will start, and after certain point it has reached, after the time, if we take, it is somewhere around, the time of charging is 3.257 out of 35 seconds, only the 3 seconds it has been started. 32 seconds were being used to actually to connect and ensure the communication got set up, and then all the EV and EVSC both are ready, and that's when the things will start, actually the powering stage will start conducting. At the same time, if you look very carefully, only after C2 reaches to 6 volt, only after the charging reaches to its C2 stage, it's the DC contactor which gets closed after this. So you can see that there is some small time period between this and this point. This point is near to this dotted line, 24 seconds, and this is somewhere around near to 23 point, some near to that. So there is some small time between this point and this point. After this point only, the charging state goes into the C2 state. The DC contactor gets closed in, ensuring that now the system is ready to do the pre-charging. So now if you look very carefully, if you consider our pre-charging and resistance insulation monitoring, so you see it is continuously monitoring the insulation, and which is somewhere in mega ohms. Obviously we must ensure that it should be greater than 100 kilo ohm. This insulation between DC plus and DC minus line, the resistance of insulation has to be greater than 100 kilo ohm, and you can see here we have 42 mega ohm here and 40 mega ohm, which is very much greater than the 100 kilo ohm value. Again here the A state, B1, B2, and then C2 stage which has arrived. And here if you look very carefully, in the charging state, here there is no charging which is taking place up to this point. After this point there is 2 ampere pre-charging. After the cable check stage, it has reached to the pre-charging stage where the demand is 1.95, this is a real data which are showing over here. It is 1.95, which is less than 2 ampere. And if you look very carefully, then after pre-charging stage the vehicle will go into the charging stage, and that's when the vehicle is demanding the 15 ampere current from the EVSE, and that's when after certain time in the pre-charge stage it enter into the charging stage, where the vehicle will demand the current as per the SOC level and the maximum current level communicated by the EVSE. And if you look over here, it is the time where the actual charging start roughly after 2 seconds from here. So this is what is mating, initialization, cable check. After that it goes to pre-charging state, from pre-charging state go to the charging state, and then charging will keep on happening depending upon how much is the vehicle will demand the current within that maximum current limit. So this is how the charging sequence will be taking place. However, if you look very carefully, this we have just understood how the charging stages take place, but in the charging stages, if you recall, once the 3 to 7% duty ratio has been detected on the CP line, the EV will come to know that now it is the high level communication which will be taking place over the power line communication on the CP pin, and the EVSE will now start their high level communication using certain handshaking methods. They will do that, and a lot of information need to be shared before the PLC communication gets set up. Obviously, they have the PLC modems at the front end between the PLC modems of EV and EVSE. And we know that IEC 6185123 standard details the requirement for DC charging station, specifically mention the use of PLC for high level communication, and there we have home plugged green 5 based PLC which is being used for CCS to DC charging of system, and which has the data transmission rate or going between 2 to 28 megahertz wide band range it is having. So that means the using the wide band frequency range, the data is being communicated between the EV and EVSE, and the digital data rate, and they will achieve the digital data rate somewhere between 4.5 to 10 Mbps. Again, these are the values which are incorporated in home plug green 5 based PLC standard, which is again the subset of home plug AV standard. Now here again the problem arises, we look very carefully when we see the DC-VSC. If we see DC-VSC, what we have is we have the AC plugged in coming in. Let us take 3-phase AC plugged in. We have AC to DC, then we have DC to DC, isolated DC to DC, and then following using protective devices like contactors, protective devices, relays, and then after that you have DC plus and DC minus line which is coming out of the DC VSC. And similarly we also have a controller, let us define this to be SCCC, which is supply equipment communication controller, which is actually communicating using the CP and PE line via PLC communication to the our modem of the EV. So we have after SCCC we have a PLC modem, we can write PLC modem, and then over the CP and PE line it will be doing the communication. However, the supply for supply equipment communication controller will be coming from the same supply sources. They have a small AC to DC converter, and which will be giving supply to this power supply. We can say this is the power supply to SCCC. Now since the power supply is generated from the same source, there could be possibility of crosstalks when we have several DC VSC connected in the charging station. So what I am trying to say is that whenever the vehicle gets connected to that particular EVSC in the charging station, we must ensure that the PLC modem of the EV and EVSC which are physically connected must be connected logically, which we use to perform the high level communication. What I mean by that is, if I have, let us say, public charging station, and let us assume in this particular public charging station we have 2 EVSCs. Now in one charging station there could be many EVSCs which are present, but in this case let us assume that we have just 2 EVSC. So let us draw our EVSC we have EVSE1 and we have EVSE2, and let us assume that both the EVSE are of CCS2 charging systems. That means they have a CCS2 charger plug. So let us also assume we have two EVs. Let us say here we have EV number 1 and here we have EV number 2. So this is what we are trying to see, the real scenario which can occur. Now in the EV we have EVCC, which is called as the electric vehicle communication controller, and it will be going through the PLC modem, through the CP and PE line. It will be going and get, using the cable it will getting connected with the EVSE. So this is your CP and PE line. On the other side, assume we have this kind of thing is there. Similarly on the EV2 also we have same EVCC, we have PLC modem, and it is now getting connected via the CCS2 charger plug and cable to the EVSE. So EV2 is getting connected with the EVSE2, and in this case let us say that PLC means our PLC modems. So this kind of thing is there. In the EVSE what we have is, we have again at the front we have PLC, we have PLC modem, and then after that it is be connected to the SECC, which is nothing but supply equipment communication controller, and it is now connected with the CP and PE line. This is nothing but your CP and PE line which is coming from the PLC modem, and along with that, you know, we will also have DC plus and DC minus line. So assume we have a AC supply from where our EVSEs are getting powered up, mostly 3-phase AC supply. Now this AC supply which is there is being used to actually power the EVSE1 as well as EVSE2. So let us assume that we have our power line which are laid down in this manner. So here let us say we have again a power supply to actually power the SECC, and we have the power line which is coming in such a manner that from the same power line the power supply for the SECC is being generated. So this is nothing but, PS is nothing but power supply for SECC. So this is there which is actually powering up the SECC, and then we have the our nothing but piece power conversion unit which is actually getting power from the AC supply and then converting it into the DC plus and DC minus line. So this is my DC plus and DC minus line. Similarly on the other EVSE also we have the same thing. We have the PLC modem and we have the SECC. Again we can say that SECC is nothing but supply equipment communication controller. So on this side again the same line from the AC supply is coming, they will be coming and giving input to the power conversion unit which is actually going and giving it to the DC plus and DC minus line, and this is, you know, nothing but our CP and PE line, and this is coming from this side, okay, more precisely like this. Similarly our power supply for SECC will also be generated from the same AC line which is coming from this power supply. So this is the real scenario which can happen, where we have assumed we have a public charging station, and in the public charging station we have assumed that it has just 2 EVSEs. There could be many EVSEs, but here in this example we have assumed that we have just 2 EVSEs which are been there. And in this public charging station what we have is, we have 2 EVs which are coming in and simultaneously they are connected to EVSE1 and EVSE2, So EV1 is connected to EVSE1 and EV2 is connected to EVSE2. Now in this what you will see is that both the EVSEs are getting powered from the same AC supply, and in the AC supply it is used to give the input to the power conversion unit to actually convert that AC into the DC on both the EVSEs. Along with that, the same AC power supply has been used to actually generate the power supply for the SECC at its required voltage and current level, whatever the requirement from the SECC it is there. Let me also define the PCU, which is the power conversion unit. So a PLC signal, if we see, it is nothing but a high frequency signal which is been superimposed on a 1 kilohertz PWM signal and which is coming over the CP PE line. So a very high frequency signal are being superimposed on this 1 kilohertz PWM signal. So because of that, what happens is that this high frequency signal, let's assume from the EV1 it is starting, and from the PLC modem of EV1 it is starting, and from there it will reach to the PLC modem of EVSE1. From the PLC modem of EVSE1 it will go through the supply equipment communication controller, and from the supply equipment communication controller of EVSE1 it goes through the power supply which is being used to generate the required voltage and current level for SECC. It will go through the power supply, and since the power supply for this SECC is using the same input which is coming from the grid, what happens is this high frequency signal will navigate through the AC line and it will start to go to the EVSE2, and in the EVSE2 it will navigate to the power supply which is being used to power up the SECC of EVSE2. Through that it reaches to the SECC of EVSE2, and then through that it will reach to the PLC modem of EVSE2. So what happens is that this high frequency signal which has been there, because of this high frequency signal they may navigate through the copper wires which are being used to power up the EVSEs as well as power up the power supply for the SECCs. And what happens is that the high frequency signal which starts from EV1 may go and end up with the PLC modem of EVSE2, may navigate through that point because of this high frequency signal, and this high frequency signal is nothing but called as the crosstalk, which is actually linked from EV1 to the which is going to the other EVSEs. Further, the high frequency signal may get radiated and coupled to DC plus and DC minus lines, and as they are very much close to CP and P lines and bundled together in a cable, and which then gets radiated and coupled through the isolation transformer in the power conversion unit to the supply line, and then can follow the same path as shown over here. Also, in case when the EVSEs have two charging guns, then the control wires of one PLC modem are routed nearby or bundled together with other PLC modem control wires, and they are placed inside the same cabinet, which also lead to the crosstalks. Further, the crosstalks also occurs due to the shared ground loops in case the cables are laid down very much near to each other in case of space constraints. Further, poor EMI design of boards and unfiltered power supplies. So in summary, this crosstalks happens due to insufficient galvanic isolation in the power supplies in the power conversion unit, as we have already shown over here. It also occurs due to the close proximities of control wires, especially in case when we have EVSEs with multiple charging guns. It also occurs due to the shared ground loops, poor EMI design of boards, unfiltered power supplies. So what happens is that now here if you see, there are several possibilities which can happen. So the possibilities which are possible are, generally you will see that when the EV modems trying to get connected with the EVSE modem, they actually start sending the broadcasting messages. So what happens is that there is a possibility that the PLC modem of EV1 can get logically connected to PLC modem of EVSE1. That is one possibility is there. Second possibility, the PLC modem of EV1 can get logically connected with PLC modem of EVSE2. That can also be possibility is there. Then other possibility could be the PLC modem of EV2, because when EV2 is trying to get connected, so EV2 can get logically connected with PLC modem of EVSE1 and similarly the PLC modem of EV1 sorry the PLC modem of EV2 can get logically connected with PLC modem of EVSE2. Now, so these are the different possibilities, and why this possibility happens, because generally before starting the communication between EV and EVSE, the PLC modems of EV and EVSE are get logically connected, and that logical connection happens when the EV initiates the broadcasting message using the PLC communication over the CP and PE line. That means the high frequency signal is been initiated by the EVs. So, what happens is that ideally what we wanted, that the physically connected EV and EVSE must be logically connected. The physically connection means the connection which are being made by plugging in the charger plug. So, we ideally wanted that PLC modem of EV1 must be connected with PLC modem of EVSE1, but because this high frequency signal is there, we have the copper wires, they may navigate through those copper wires and reach to the PLC modems of other EVSEs. So, that is why what we see is that in this particular example there are 4 possibilities which can happen. The PLC modem of EV1 can get logically connected with PLC modem of EVSE2. The PLC modem of EV1 can get logically connected with PLC modem of EVSE1. Similarly, the PLC modem of EV2 can get logically connected with PLC modem of EVSE2, or it can logically get connected with the EVSE1. However, out of these 4 possibilities, we wanted that only this possibility and this possibility should exist. We do not want that these 2 possibilities should occur. Otherwise, what happens is that the PLC modem of EV1 will be communicating different messages of EV1 to the PLC modem of EVSE2, and ideally it should have been communicating with EVSE1 because it is the EVSE1 which is physically connected with the EV1. So, several possibilities which are been possible, and these possibilities are arises primarily because the high frequency signal will navigate through the copper wires and reach to the PLC modems of other EVSEs. So, in order to ensure that the correct PLC modem of EV and EVSE are connected, especially those PLC modem must be logically connected which has direct physical connection, that means the PLC modem of EV must be logically connected to the PLC modem of EVSE through which it is being plugged in via the charger plug. Here the logically connected means the 2 PLC modems can communicate with each other, different messages can be exchanged between them. So, it could be possible that physically it is the EV1 and EVSE1 is connected, but the PLC modem of EV1 is actually communicating with the PLC modem of EVSE2, and that is a very serious problem because the stages and the information which is shared between EV1 and EVSE1 is actually being shared between EV1 and EVSE2. So, this is a problem when we have so many EVSEs are put together in the charging station, and that is why we must ensure that the correct PLC modem of EV, which is the PLC modem of EV1, must be connected to the correct PLC modem of the EVSE, which is EVSE1. So, here what we want exactly, the PLC modem of EV1 must be connected to PLC modem of EVSE1, but because of the crosstalks, because of the high frequency signals in the PLC communication, it may be possible that the PLC modem of EV1 is connected to the PLC modem of EVSE2, and that will lead to catastrophic failure, or it may lead to the wrong operational of the EVSEs in the charging station. So, in order to ensure that the correct PLC modem of EV and EVSE is connected, mostly it is between those modems which are actually physically connected to each other. That particular, in order to ensure that there is a procedure which is being followed, and that procedure is called as the SLAC procedure. Now, if you see this SLAC procedure, whose full form is signal level attenuation characterization, as the name suggests, it is the protocol which measures or characterize the attenuation between the different PLC modem which are detected in that particular charging station, and then the correct PLC modems will be connected by following that particular procedure. So, as the name suggests, the signal level attenuation characterization is basically characterizes the attenuation between the PLC modems of EV and EVSE which are being detected in a given charging station. So, it is basically a protocol which actually ensures that the logical connection of PLC modems of EV and EVSE are made, and particularly those PLC modems where the EV and EVSE are physically connected to each other, where the physical connection between EV and EVSE are made, only those PLC modems are actually being connected. So it is the protocol which ensure that there must be a logical connection of PLC modems of EV and EVSE which are actually physically connected to each other. Now this SLAC procedure is actually defined in the home plug Green5 V1.1.1 specification. In that standard is being mentioned, and this SLAC is basically, as I mentioned, is a protocol which measures the attenuation between the two power line communication modules, or you can say modems. So it basically measures the attenuation between the two PLC modems and then take a decision which PLC modems to be logically connected. And this SLAC procedure is performed only after the charging state reaches to the B2 state. That means once the 3 to 7% PWM pulses is actually been ensured, only after that the SLAC procedure is been done to ensure the PLC modems are logically connected. So PLC modem of EV and EVSE after the SLAC procedure are logically connected to actually perform the high level communication over the PLC line or over the CP and PE line which are using PLC based communication. Now it is in the data link layer of the 7 OSI layer. So once the EV and EVSE gets plugged in, the SLAC procedure is being called upon, which is basically it measures the attenuation between all the available PLC modems in the vicinity, and then the PLC modems of that EV and EVSE which are physically connected together are then being logically connected, so that the correct PLC modems of EV and EVSE are connected and they do the communication with each other. Now particularly if there are several EVs which are being connected to the charging station which are very much nearby to each other, there can be some crosstalk in between them, as we have seen in this figure where we have two EVSEs in a charging station which are being kept nearby and it is being connected with the AC grid, and that is when we see that the communication has to be done between EV1 and EVSE1, but because of the power line communication which consists of a very high frequency signal between 2 to 20 megahertz will actually take a path and then goes to the PLC modem of the EVSE2, and there could be possibility that although the EV1 is connected to EVSE1, but the PLC modem of EV1 will be communicating with the PLC modem of EVSE2. So that particular condition should be avoided, and that is happening just because there is a possibility of crosstalk between them. So we must ensure that the communication must be taking place only between the physically connected EV and EVSE. So this is important thing which has to be ensured, that the communication must be happening between the physically connected EV and EVSE, and that is why the SLAC procedure is been performed. So generally the PLC modem which shows the lowest attenuation to each other are actually the physically connected to each other, and that is when they get logically connected to each other and then perform high level communication between them. So in this SLAC procedure, it is nothing but it is a protocol which is being used to set up the communication between the EV and EVSE, and primarily it is used to ensure that correct PLC modems of EV and EVSE are being connected to each other. That means setting up the communication means the logical connection. So the SLAC procedure is the one which ensures that the communication between the EV and EVSE must be correctly done. Now it is given in detail in ISO 15118-3 and DIN spec 70121 standard, and which is actually been derived from home plug Green5 standard. Now in this what happens is that it is the EV which initiates the SLAC procedure by sending the broadcast messages to all the EVSEs which are present in the charging station. So we have seen in our public charging station example case what we have seen here, we have two EVSEs. So let us say if the EV1 has to be logically connected with the EVSE, so what happens is that the EV1 will send the broadcast messages, and that broadcast message will go to all the EVSEs which have been there in the charging station. So here it will go to EVSE1 as well as EVSE2. Then after that what happens is that it actually follows several steps. The first step is parameter exchange, or you can say the parameter setup step. Then after that there will be discovery of PLC nodes. It will discover all the PLC nodes which are trying to communicate with the PLC modem of EV, which is actually sending the broadcast message. After that they will make the matching decision. In case if the matching decision is not been achieved, what they will do is they will do the validation, which is again an optional step in case if the correct matching is not being obtained. After that they will exchange the key, and that is when the logical connection will be set up. So, in this case the first and foremost thing is parameter exchange and setup step. In this step there is a message which is cm_slack_parameter dot request message, which is being sent by the EV, and this is in the form of broadcast message. This is the request message from the EV, and all the EVSEs which are listening to this request, obviously the EVSEs which are there in that particular public charging station, all those EVSEs which are actually listening to this request will then send a confirmation message, which is nothing but cm_slack_parm.cnf message, and the confirm message contains the number of sounding or attenuation indication signals. So, they will send certain sounding signals which is actually been sent by the EV. So, in the confirmation message they will say that what will be the number of sounding messages or these signals which has to be sent by the EV while they are doing the attenuation characterization. So, after receiving the confirmation message from the EVSEs, the slack parameters got set up. That means the run ID, the allowed frequency, that means the range of frequency within which those sounding messages are being sent. Then the timings, after how much time those sounding messages should be sent one after the other, the number of sounding messages, and nothing but the attenuation thresholds which are being there. That means what will be the maximum attenuation or the signal strength we can expect from the connections. So, those things will be determined in this particular step, step number 1. After that the discovery of PLC node will take place. So, after receiving the confirmation message from all the EVSEs which are actually responding to the broadcast message which was sent by the EV, what happens is that the EV will now broadcast 3 times the message which is cm_start_attenuation_characterization.ind message. Now, this particular message, it is been sent for 3 times, and it acts as the wake up call for all the EVSEs which sends the confirmation message. So, for example, in a charging station there could be 10 EVSEs, and out of those 10 EVSEs only 4 EVSEs would have responded with the confirmation messages. So, now they should be ready to receive those sounding messages to do the attenuation characterization. Hence, the EV will send the wake up call to the EVSEs who have sent the confirmation messages that they are now gonna send the sounding messages. And after receiving that particular wake up call, the EVSEs will be ready to receive those sounding or the attenuation messages. Now, after this the EV broadcast the preferred amount of sounding messages. Generally it is 10. So, EV sends 10 times those sounding messages, and those sounding messages is actually comprises of 58 different frequency group, and each frequency group corresponds to the narrow band of frequency within the PLC frequency band. So, in our case our PLC band is between 2 to 28 megahertz. So, what they will do is they will divide them into 58 different frequency group, which generally corresponds to a narrow band of frequency within that 2 to 28 megahertz frequency band. So, you can say that those 58 frequency group signals will be sent 10 times, and what happens is that for each sounding message, so which is, and we know that there are 10 number of sounding messages, number of them. So, each sounding messages which is defined as a cm_mnbc_sound.ind message, the PLC modem on the EVSE side will actually produce the CM profile. That means it is the EVSE modem which actually measures the attenuations for each sounding message. So, in each sounding message we have 58 frequency group. So, you will see that there will be 58 different attenuation values for 58 different frequency groups will be there, and those attenuation will be measured by the PLC modem on the EVSE side. and they will produce the attenuation profile messages. And then after receiving all these 10 messages from the EV, the PLC modem of EVSE, the PLC modem of EVSE is actually sends those attenuation characterization message which contains the average attenuation value for 58 frequency groups. So that means the first sounding message would have come for 58 different frequency, they would have calculated 58 different attenuation values, then all those 10 messages have come. So for each frequency group they will do the averaging of the attenuation values, and then they finally send one average attenuation value for those 58 frequency groups. So then the EV acknowledges the attenuation profile result and then start analysis for the matching decision. So what happens is that first the EV broadcasts the message, after EV broadcasts the message, the EVSE send the confirmation message, after sending confirmation message, EV sends the wake up call to all the EVSE who have responded to a confirmation message. After that, EV sends those 10 sounding messages which are nothing but consist of 58 frequency group, and for each sounding messages the EVSE modem or the PLC modem on the EVSE side will measure the attenuation values, and then they do the average attenuation values corresponding to 58 frequency group and they will send back to the EV, and then the EV acknowledges those attenuation profile result and they will start doing the analysis for doing the matching. So in this case what happens is that if more than one EVSEs have answered the request of the EV, primarily due to the crosstalks as we have discussed in the example, then the PLC modem of EV has to decide to which PLC modem of EVSE it should be connected to. Now in this case what happens is that the PLC modem of EVSE which has the least attenuation value will be chosen for logical connection. Now this is the case when the results are well defined. That means let us say for example if only one EVSE has responded, so the EV will know that it has to be logically connected to that particular PLC modem of EVSE only if there are only one EVSE which has responded. If in case more than one PLC modems of EVSE would have responded and the attenuation values are very much nearby each other, so it is very difficult for the EV to decide to which PLC modem of EVSE to be connected to. So in that case if the result is undecided, then the validation process is required. Otherwise the EV can advance with the matching process by sending the message CM_AT attention under this particular message to the chosen EVSE. That means if the results are well defined, then the EV will send the matching decision to the chosen EVSE. If the results are not well defined or they are undecided, then we require the validation process. Now in the validation process what happens is that the EV sends a request message to start the validation process. Now that particular request message is confirmed by EVSE by sending the confirmation message. Now after receiving that confirmation message, the EV toggles the charging state by closing and reopening of the S2 switch. That means they open and they close the S2 switch, that means they go from state B to state C to state B again. So that is nothing but the BCB toggle they do. So for example here if we see, this is an example, and if you see here there are toggling which is happening. So this is plus 9 volt, so this is a B2 state, it is 6 volt, this is a C2 state, again it is a B2 state, and again it is a C2 state, and again it is a B2 state. So there are B2, C2, B2, then again C2, B2. So if you see here there are two BCB toggles which are happening, and so the EV actually does the BCB toggle by closing and opening its S2 switch, and after this what happens is that after EV toggles the charging state, EV again sends the request message to the EVSEs who are actually being communicating with EV, and then the EVSE will send the confirmation messages, and in that confirmation messages they will include the number of detected BCB toggles. Now that particular thing is the one which actually decides to which EVSE it should be connected to, because you know if you see this BCB toggle is happening with 1 kilohertz signal, the low frequency signal, and this particular state which is happening, it is happening over the CP and PE line. That means it is only been there for the EVSEs which is actually physically connected by the charger plug, because then only it is not the high frequency signal which are being superimposed. It is the actual signal which is happening between the CP and PE line and which is being seen by the EV and EVSE on either side of that charger plug. So once the EV sends that BCB toggle, only that EVSE will send the confirmation message with correct number of BCB toggle which is been physically connected, and that is how EV will come to know that to which EVSE it should be connected to, and it will be that EVSE which is actually been physically connected to the EV via the charger plug. And that is how, if in case the matching decision is undefined, that is how EV will able to recognize to which EVSE it should be connected to. And after this thing, what happens is that once that particular thing is completed, the correct EVSE is been chosen, what happens is that the EV will then informs EVSE by sending a request messages which is a slack match request messages to the EVSE, and after that particular chosen EVSE receives that matching request, the EVSE confirms that matching request by the match confirmation message which actually contains the logical network membership key NM key and the network ID which is the NID, short form is NID. And once the EV receives that matching confirmation message from the chosen EVSE, the EV will then set that particular received key in its PLC modem using the set key request message to its PLC modem, and that will be confirmed by the PLC modem. And after that, what happens is that the PLC modem gets automatically rebooted after receiving this key request message, and after the rebooting the PLC modems of EV and EVSE are logically connected. So what we see is that the SAC procedure is initiated by the EV by sending the broadcasting message to all the EVSE which are being connected in a charging station, and after that the EVSEs which are receiving that particular messages will send the confirmation messages, and in that confirmation message they will send some of the parameters, mostly it is the number of sounding messages, and after receiving that confirmation messages the EV will then send the wake up call, and after the EV sends the wake up call, EV will then send the 10 sounding messages. Those wake up calls are actually 3 in numbers, and here the sounding messages are nothing but 10 in number, 10 sounding messages. And after that those 10 sounding messages, what happens is that the EVSE will send the attenuation profile for frequency group, and after they are receiving the attenuation profile, the matching will be taking place. EV will take care of the matching sequences, and if in case the matching is not been well defined, then EV will do the validation process as well by doing the toggling, BCB toggling, and EVSE will respond to the number of BCB toggle which has happened. And after this thing validation, those things are confirmed, the EVSE is been chosen to which it should be logically connected. What happens is that EV will then send the matching request, and EV sends the matching request, and after the matching request has been received, EVSE will send the keys for matching, and after the key is been received, the EV will then set its PLC modem to that particular key, and then after that the PLC modem, once they receive that particular key, they will get rebooted, and after the rebooting the logical connection is being made. So this is how the select procedure takes place, and following this select procedure the correct modems of EV and EVSE are being connected. Correct, what I mean by that is those PLC modems of EV and EVSE are being connected which are actually being physically connected via the charger plug, and that is how the logical connection is being made. And after this thing the high level communication will be initiated using the PLC based communication. Mostly it will be those PLC modems of EV and EVSE which are actually physically being connected, because we have taken that particular point which has the least attenuation value. So this is the way by which the PLC modem get logically connected following the select procedure. Now if you look very carefully, one example I am showing over here. So you can see there are total of 10 sounding messages which are being sent by the EV, and EVSCs will be receiving that, and this is the average attenuation values. They have done the calculation for 58 different frequencies. The average attenuation of those 10 sounding messages are being calculated, and then finally the total average attenuation is being obtained for that particular EVSC which has the MAC ID given over here. So every EVSC will have its own ID which is media access control ID. So for that particular EVSC they will send that average attenuation which is shown over in the red color to the EV, and then EV will decide whether it is okay or not to get it logically connected. Then if we see in the real system where the slack procedure has been taking place, as we told, here we are in state A, here we are in state B1, and here we have reached to state B2 where our PWM has started. Now if you look very carefully, after that my slack procedure is starting. This is by sending, if you see, this is different carrier number 1 to 58. So this is been sent between this and this point. So after it reaches to B2 state, the different sounding messages are being sent from the EV side and which is been received in the EVSC. Now after that only that EV and EVSC will be decided, and then required PLC of the EVSC will get connected to. So after the slack procedure is been done, the PLC status or PLC link status will be then turned to 1 only after certain point, after it receives all these carrier signal and then do the attenuation and then finally decided by the EV. So you can see after the slack procedure is done, only after that the PLC link status becomes 1, that means PLC modem get logically connected to do the communication. And once the slack procedure is been done, the PLC modems are logically connected. Means they can now be ready to do the high level communication between them. One can then do the high level communication between them because they are logically connected. Now once they logically connected, there is another procedure which takes place, which is nothing but called as a SLAAC, which is nothing but called as a stateless address auto configuration, which is nothing but it is defining the IP addresses of EV and EVSC modems. So once they are logically connected, they will now be given addresses, that EV and EVSC will be given addresses, and that is through stateless address auto configuration method, and which actually follows Internet Protocol version 6 and which assigns the local address, or you can say IP address, to the EV and EVSC PLC modems. Now being logically connected, as well as they will be ready to do the data transmission between them. I mean obviously to and fro data transmission is been possible, and at the same time their IP addresses are also defined, and already once they have this thing, they are already MAC addresses will also be there. We will study those things. One will discuss how the high level communication takes place over the 7 OSI layers. Now this particular part, the slack procedure, is constitutes of layer number 3 of OSI layer, which is nothing but your network layer, that we will see in the next class, where we will see how once the PLC modem gets logically connected, how the high level communication is been taking place following the 7 open system interconnection layer model. So this is how PLC modems are logically connected. In the last lecture we have seen what is the charging sequences, and then now we have seen how the PLC modems are logically connected. In the next class we will see how once the PLC modems are logically connected, how they will do the high level communication following those 7 OSI layer, and then after that we will summarize all the processes together, and that is when we will proceed to other charging methods. Thank you very much for patiently listening to this lecture.